Linda said, I'm a registered herbalist since 2004. Had to take an extended career break after personal tragedy. Prior to the forced break, I was teaching at conferences across the US. I had a growing practice. I'm guessing that my best starting point is to get my website up and running. And then I discovered your material, realized I was missing a plan. How would you advise me to implement a soft reopening of my practice? Great question. So first of all, Glinda, where are you based these days?
Okay. Hi, Ted. I'm in Memphis.
Memphis.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay. Okay. I've never been there. Um, well, right. So the plan is the thing, right? And just for everyone, I know this is for hippies.
Yeah.
This is the toughest part. Is that there's a real resistance to plans. But yes, I think getting a website in your case is probably a great idea. But now you want to have a plan to help you achieve the kind of reopening. Hey, that's the idea. Okay, so there's a few steps that it's fairly simple, but one, it's good to just open up a document or pen and paper and just write down what are all the things I can think of doing that I already know to do this soft reopening. Like what's everything that occurs to me that I could do? And I'll just riff on a few things. But certainly the friends and family email, if all of you haven't done it in your business, may not be too late. It's amazing how many of your friends and family have no idea what the hell you do. Yeah. And especially if you're just starting something new or you're pivoting, you can, yes, there's spam laws and there's consent, but you got friends and family who just, you ask forgiveness, not permission. Just send one email, say, hey, everybody, I just wanted to tell everyone what I'm up to and they'll forgive you. And so that's one. The other is certainly you could host a little party in person. Not a bad idea. Invite people who nice, good hubs and friends who supported you along the way. Um, Also, it's a good idea. You could reach out to people who you just know have some reach, some ability to spread the word, and say, "Hey, when my website's up," or just email them and say, "Hey, my website is up. Would you be willing to share it on social media? Here's some pre-written posts. I wrote them for you." And they'd say, "Hey, my friend Glenda is just, she's incredible herbalist. She's been doing this for, almost 20 years and or for 20 years she's fantastic. She got her new website. Here's her niche, here's her focus. Here's how you'd know if you're a fit for her work. Go check it out." But you can invite them to be posting it. I would also be thinking about the signature workshop thing. Who could host you? And I know when I talk about this, there's a kind of a our brain can seize up. It was like, but I don't know anybody who could host it. Where would I even do it? I promise you, if you and I were to sit down and I were to just say, let's go through your Facebook friends list. Let's go through your emails. Let's talk about your past few years and things you've been involved in. We would come up with a list of 20 people who could host you easy. So the sitting down and just mapping out who could host a signature workshop for me and just line those up in the first few months of this.
Already doing that. Already doing that.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm already got one lined up.
So that's the very first thing is to you just make a list of the things. And so actually here in the chat, we'll put ideas for Glinda's relaunch. So Glinda's getting back out there. So in the chat, if you've got ideas for Glinda, what would they be? What might, if you were in that situation, right? Or if you were Glinda's marketing team and Glinda comes to you and says, I want to reopen, I've had to be closed down for a while, but I'm getting back out there. What would you suggest that Glinda do? What are some ideas? So let's see, we got, 24 of you here. So let's see if we can get at least 24 ideas of what in practical terms, and from the most micro to the most macro, what are the steps that could be done, just one piece of the process. What's one step? Trying to think if there's other ones. I mean, it sounds like you're doing well, but we'll see if we can get a few more ideas that may uh, inspire you. But once you've got the list of ideas, then we got to put them in sequence. That's the key, as to then, this is why typing it up might be a bit easier, but you just go through and you say, okay, which is first? What's the clear first thing I need to know? What's after? And if you put it in sequence and decide when, you do it, then you put dates on them between, okay, so there's now, and then there's when I want to be done this thing. What are the dates? And then make just sure those go into your calendar. Because the beautiful thing about this then is instead of it being a sort of panicked um, sprint, it becomes this really leisurely walk where it's just, oh, today I'm going to do this step. Tomorrow, oh, I've got this step. Oh, 3 things tomorrow. But it's not like 100 things to do all at once, which is where people burn out. Because of the lack of a plan, you get to a few weeks before a deadline and then all this. So, okay, John, good to see you. John says, paper all the hippie hubs, right? Yoga barns, right, and health food shops, right? New age bookstores. Yeah, that's one. You could also consider hosting a hubs gathering where you say, like, do you have a particular niche in herbalism? Is there general herbalism or?
When when I did this before, my niche was people that had not found help with standard medical practice. So that was my niche before. But since a whole new niche possible niche has opened up, and that's what I need to explore further. But it's
What's
looking like my niche is going to be people with complex PTSD.
beautiful? Okay, so then a really key step is to map out everybody. Um, and do you want to do it local? I guess
Not
no.
necessarily.
Okay, but you might
No.
start local and just map out everyone local who works on trauma issues.
Okay.
And then you introduce yourself to them because they might be doing somatic work, but they're not doing herbalism. They might be doing more psychological stuff, or they might, anyway, there's a lot of things they might be doing. What you're doing could be complementary. And if you introduce yourself, boom.
Okay.
Um, yeah, Ruth, so Victoria said, right, write out a plan to prevent burnout. For example, I have 3 daily tasks that I can choose from my to-do list for one additional item, right? You're right. Introduce yourself to the local herb shop, leave a few business cards there. Um, yeah, and I love what Ruth said too. Tell the truth. You had to stop for a while, and here's how I feel about restarting. In an email newsletter, if you're on social media or in your talks, I think it's just good to tell that story. Hey, I went through some things and I had to take a break, but I'm back, and I've got all this to say about trauma and the connection between trauma and herbs and medicine, and yeah. And then Tasha said, invite those who do complementary to work to you to come to a sharing how they help ideal clients with the plan. Okay, I don't understand what Tasha what you wrote, but do podcast interviews. You get, oh yeah, and doing a hubs gathering, right? Invite all the people in town who work with people with trauma together for an afternoon, and just like, hey, we're gonna just it'll be 3 hours. We'll have an hour of kind of hanging out from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3. We're gonna everyone get 2 minutes to formally introduce themselves and their work, on what they're up to, and then 3 to 4 will mingle and just bring a platter of food or something. And but then you get to meet all these hubs, and then they all remember you because you're the host. It's a very simple move, but it can be really potent. And then you know who you want to follow up with. So those are some thoughts, but mostly get the ideas, get them in the best order, and then schedule them out. And yeah, most people just don't do any don't have a plan. So it's good that you're thinking it through. All right. Thank you so much for calling in. All right. Yolanda says, even if somebody reads, oh, 1 second, tune. Okay. Even if somebody reads your perfect fit page and knows that's not for them, it can still help them to know if they want to work with you. It lets them know how they might have to adjust or what they can gain and what they can't gain from the service. Right. Yeah. So there's a commentary on what we were talking about. Sometimes they'll read the ideal client page. They'll say, oh, I'm not a fit right now for this, but I'd like to be. I'd like to work with this person, and now I know what I need to get in place, which is also what your starter kit can be. Like, hey, you're not quite ready to work with me? No problem. Let's help you get the foundation in place so you could. Let's help you get some of those basics in there, and then no problem. Yeah.